I'm a rapper, I'm not a poet. Poet, I'm not a rapper. Guess it's opposite there, cause you niggas just got it backwards. Got me sick to my stomach. Go up on my lantern. New trios, Frio, the most terrible tandem. Deliver shock value, but no, not Timberlanding. Critical observation alerting you ambulances. Clap on and clap off. Rap on and rap off. Hard times for hard rhymes, that concrete, that asphalt. If I did look twice, I guess that's her asphalt. May I assist you and score, get my pass out. Matter of fact, it's what you need. Need some rest, you just fatigue. See, technically I'm foul, and Mrs. Wallace, I'm Rashid. Know this beat is a banger, have no reason for anger. If I'm slightly deterred, you know I'm giving the finger. I'm a savage like Corey, but not in need of Topanga. Right like 90 degrees, you in the need of an angle.
Man, shout out to Club Monster, dog.
Yeah.
Man, that goes hard.
Hard in the paint.
Man, what you doing, man?
Man, I'm just sitting here chilling, bro. It's another free lunch podcast episode. Sitting here chilling in the cut. How you feel today?
Man, can I give a shout out to the folks at Hennessy?
You gonna shout out Hennessy? That's what we doing?
That was in this cup. Hey, man, they're gonna be straight foolishness today.
Oh boy. Yeah. Word to Hennessy. Yeah, okay then.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to Hennessy as I take a sip real fast.
Take a sip.
Dog,
Yes,
can you also let the people know what I got on my face right now?
You got your stunner shades on. He got his stunner shades on, people.
I got the shades on.
Yeah, you got the stunner shades on.
I can't let them see my eyes.
Don't let them see your eye.
You never let them see your eye. But this gonna be a straight foolishness podcast today. You know why?
Why is that, dog?
Because everybody want to know, why am I anti-social media?
Anti-social media.
And so
that's a good question. I'm really interested to know the answer to why you just feel the way you feel about social media.
We finna talk about it.
Okay,
we're gonna talk about why I'm anti-social media. This gonna be a good 35, 40 minutes of social media bashing.
Well,
and
buckle up, people. Let's buckle up for this ride.
Hopefully it's entertaining. It's probably gonna be foolish. In a lot of ways, it might be some ratchetness behind it, but let's just talk about it. But before we even get into it, you know, you asked me earlier what I was bouncing to.
Yeah. What were you about to let them in on what you were bouncing to?
I'm about to let them in on what I was bouncing to.
It's that time.
Let me take a sip.
Hennessy break.
That was a Hennessy break. I gotta give a shout out to the folks at Hennessy.
Is it that time?
At that time.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Do it for the vine.
This one for my boys and them bitches about that money. Gotta love Chesapeake, them bad women that honest.
Oh man,
I don't fuck with no snitches, so don't tell me who telling. This one for them colleges, them bad women that spell me. Shout out to them freshmen on Instagram straight flexing. Papa Molly, I'm sweating.
Woo!
Papa Molly, I'm sweating.
Woo!
Mama always told me, boy, count your blessings.
Woo!
Gold all in my chain. Gold all in my ring. Gold all in my watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
Nigga.
Man, we don't use that word no more, man.
Yeah, with all the other words that you said at the beginning of that
one,
we have officially earned another explicit rating label.
Because of you.
Whatever you want to say.
Because of you using the N word.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, I apologize.
Dog is looking at me with these shades on. Y'all got to see this.
Yeah, I got the shades on. They ain't finna see that. So, essentially, I want to get on this whole social media deal and this whole social media talk and really take a deep dive into why I am so anti-social media. And just to put it out there, in a lot of ways, it got something to do with just the lack of connection that it has produced in a lot of relationships.
Okay.
So nowadays, social media has created the lack of communication. It has created, in my opinion, people just don't know each other no more.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of authenticity. People can't be authentic anymore. They can't be themselves because in a lot of ways, I feel like they're trying to live out someone else's dream.
Right.
And then just connecting with human beings. People can't even be human beings anymore. Mm-hmm. And what I'm getting at is the idea of human beings not even picking up the phone anymore. Mm-hmm. and talking on the phone, getting to know each other, developing genuine, authentic relationships, starting from a friendship and then growing into something much more deeper and something a little bit more, where you actually get to know people. Right. Nowadays, from what I've seen and from my experiences, friendships, not really even friendships, but they're associates, mm-hmm. are built off of Facebook connection. So I guess you request to be someone's friend on Facebook, and then y'all become friends, and then now your whole communication exists on Facebook. True. Or tweeting or text message
or Instagram.
Instagram. I've never had an Instagram account.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how Instagram works. So, but just the whole idea of from a human being perspective and connecting with different individuals and getting to know someone, I just feel like that's kind of gone away. It's kind of becoming dormant.
It is.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, that's the reason why I've kind of disconnected myself from Facebook. 140 characters is the limit on Twitter. So that's how you communicate, 140 characters. And on the text message, everybody want to text nowadays. Nobody pick up the phone to call and say, hey, how you doing? How was your day? And really develop a relationship. Back in the day, Mr. Telephone Man, there's something wrong with my line.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Right.
What they saying about now? Mr. Twitter Man.
Yeah.
I can't exceed 140.
Yeah. Yo, gotta say, we ain't talking on the phone. We straight texting. So yeah, there's social.
But how do you develop a relationship with I'm talking about not just with someone of the opposite sex or someone that you're dating, but just from a friendship perspective, how do you develop a relationship in today's world?
Yeah. That's the whole thing. The social media and the texting and all that kind of stuff are a convenience thing. Like they made it convenient to communicate in real time, to save you, having to call and actually dial a number and engage in a conversation the traditional way. With texting and using those 140 characters, you could have the communication and still be doing whatever else it is. So it's a convenience thing. But truthfully, yeah, you're right. It's difficult if you don't add that traditional element to it. If the sole basis of your relationship is just what you can get by typing on that keyboard or using your cell phone, it's not going to be.
I think that's the new norm, though. That's my whole point. I think the new norm, and especially with the new millenniums, with the millenniums now, we are developing and we are creating a society where people can't even communicate no more. Mm-hmm. That's my fear. And we are actually in the midst of it right now. And we can't even take a step to take a step back to even look and say, man, what are we doing? Because you're going to have a whole generation of people. I went to a school the other day, and I was talking to one of the teachers, and she said that students are turning in papers nowadays with text messaging lingo, LOL, mm-hmm. in the essay. Yeah. You got a group of people that can't even communicate now. They type it in LOL and can't even laugh. They can't even write laugh out loud. So my whole thought process, and the reason why I'm so anti-social media is that I fear that the connection with the human being is becoming lost. And I feel like we're not developing. And then also I feel like it's the lack of authenticity. So those are my two reasons why, in a lot of ways, I'm so anti-social media. Like, I understand the benefits of it. I understand how, you can use it to promote your business or whatever it is that you're working on. I understand how you can use it to decrease the degrees of separation between myself and someone I may admire. So it decreases the degrees of separation from that perspective. But overall, as a race, I feel like we've become so addicted to social media and to just the microwave society that we live in, that we are becoming less of human beings. Like, if I only talk to someone, I understand the benefit of having text messages, so I can text someone I haven't spoken with, or if I'm on my way home, I can send a quick text to someone and say, hey, I'm on my way over to your house. But what about when you're having entire conversations, or when the first time you meet the girl in the club? I go to the club. Hey, shawty, what's your name? Right. I get a number. And then that whole relationship is built off a text message. Huh? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real. That's reality. That happens. You get the number, and the first interaction is the text message.
Yeah. But back in the day, you used to pick up that phone and you would call.
Yeah. Now I'm sure I've done that before. I'm guilty of that.
That's what I'm saying. So how can we continue to promote social media and live off of social media and not be able to develop genuine, authentic relationships with individuals, both of the same sex and of the opposite sex?
I don't know. Because we might be so far gone that, like you said the word, it's the new norm. And I don't know how you combat that outside of, people who were post this movement, putting themselves in a position to create some balance. If you do have, if you're in our peer group and you have kids or something like that, to allow them to do what they do in terms of their devices and their iPhones and things like that, but then also having a forum to where they do sit down and talk. One of the foundational pieces of conversation historically has been the living room and the porch and the dinner table and things like that. So it's going to require, before this period of time, it really didn't require, as a family making a conscientious effort to say, okay, from this period of time of the day, we're going to come here and we're going to talk. You didn't have to do that because that was our norm. But now, for those that value, creating a generation of people that, will still have that ability to actually converse and have communication, from the mouth versus from the fingers, there's going to probably have to be an effort. Like, you're going to probably have to make it an effort and designate time to have those conversations.
In DC, they literally have no screen week. I had never heard of this before in my life. You ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Basically, for an entire week, they've pretty much said that, and this actually I learned this from one of my neighbors in my complex. He has daughters that goes to elementary school, and essentially what it is you can't turn on a laptop or any type of screen for the entire week. And it's really to promote reading a book. It's to promote family time, and it's and essentially to promote human connection and connecting with other human beings and developing authentic relationships within your household. Point being, we have to have almost, it's not legislation, but we're going to almost have to create legislation to force human beings to be human beings because of social media. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, there's going to have to be if it is to to be I guess maintain or if we are to maintain that piece of communicating in the more traditional sense, there are going to have to be, if not from a state or national legislative level, it's definitely going to have to be on the on the household level. Like, you just going to have to add that as a new wave of parenting and a new wave of mentorship, making that a focal point to say, okay, hey, you're gonna, you're gonna be able to text and do everything that you do on social media, but you're also going to be learned. You're going to basically be trained in how to communicate in the traditional form, which is kind of what happened, in terms of handwriting, in terms of the school system. Like, we were taught to write in cursive, but cursive was actually an antique form of writing. Mm-hmm. Like, cursive was an old form of writing, but we were still learned to write in cursive. Mm-hmm. But I've heard that they phased that out too.
Oh, kids don't know how to write in cursive?
I don't think, I've heard somewhere where some school systems are not teaching kids to write in cursive.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that somewhere. Now, I haven't been able to research and prove that, but
you might be right, though. I never even thought about that because I've never even seen my little cousins or anybody writing cursive. I'm going to ask that question.
Yeah, ask that question. But I think that's true for some school systems, that they're not even teaching cursive anymore. So, like, it's going to require setting aside time and effort to focus on the classical way of communicating, and which would be communication outside of the computer and the cell phone and all the other.
But to me, that's what's creating a lot of some of the issues that we're just seeing in relationships in general. Nowadays, from what I see, I haven't done any research on this, but just from visual watching my peers, I've seen a number of divorces between couples. I've seen a number of friendships end, all because of lack of communication, and not really at the root of the issue is knowing that other individual, right? So thinking that they know that individual, they learned them. They learned them off of Facebook or reading their statuses or getting upset because they defriend them. Or another issue I've seen on like Facebook, for example, is just players getting caught up. Friends or what have you getting caught up on Facebook, trying to have multiple relationships, etc. And I just see social media as more of a hindrance to the movement of the human being and just the advancement of human being and connection. See, for me, the first time I actually connected with an individual, I'm talking about on a deeper level than surface level, it was very powerful. Mm-hmm. And because I've had that experience where I've connected with an individual and I've truly gone to a place where I've learned someone else's and I've connected with someone else's soul, I've longed for that. Mm-hmm. And because I've longed for that, I've become disappointed at the lack of connections I've had due to social media. Mm-hmm. People want to text all the time or tweeting 140 character limit. And it's like, how can you really develop a genuine relationship with someone or get to know someone using these type of means? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so my biggest fault with social media and my biggest concern has essentially been the lack of connection and, like I said, the authenticity and just human beings not being human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not as profound as me from this perspective on social media. So give the other perspective, I guess, as to why you are so into social media.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you on the ends of how it does take away from individuals' ability to communicate. But I would say that it's more so when it is used in excess, when it's in excess, and then when it comes from a place of covering up for our internal deficiencies. So when I say in excess, it's like what you're talking about when you're using that as your sole way of communicating, and you can't really do that because, like you say, it's just words. It's just words. Oftentimes, it's 140 characters, and 140 characters is not enough. Really.
Yeah. So what are you saying? So you go to the club, you meet the new girl or what have you. She give you her number, and the next day you text her. What's that conversation? Hey, how are you? What are you doing?
Good morning. How are you today? It was a pleasure meeting you last night. Yeah, so you could do that. You could do that.
How am I gonna get to know that individual off that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And supplement. But at some point, to really get down, you got to make that call. You got to make that call, talk, converse, ask a few questions, and then move from that point on to having the face to face.
But see, this the point. It's not you and I. I don't think it's you and I that have the issue picking up the phone and calling. What I'm getting at is that the majority of human beings have lost the ability to connect with other individuals and have really become so desensitized and numb to picking up the phone and talking and getting to know people that those individuals. You know how many times I done text somebody. Then I done tried to call them, and then they hit the reject, but they respond to the text message.
Well, because see what happens is that communication in its purest sense, especially when you're talking about making new connections and communicating with new people, is a scary thing. Wow. So it takes, some people are not conversationalists as you are. Some people don't have that gift of communication, and so it's intimidating and it's a very fright-filled thing. And so you can hide behind texting. You can get your message out without having to be in that place of hearing somebody tell you no, or saying something and have somebody totally ignore what you're saying, right? So there's less risk in sending a text message or sending a message. Just like when you see a lot of these beefs that are starting off now, it's a Twitter beef.
What the hell is a Twitter beef?
It's a Twitter beef. I'm gonna just send a message, and it might be a subliminal message that the person reads into and be like, "Oh, he's talking about me." So we have all these communications breakdowns that are bred from people initially being afraid to say what it is and stand behind those words. So you can hide behind the words. You can put something in there. People get mad about it. And then you can say, well, that ain't really what I was trying to say. That's not what my intention was.
But to me, that's just from a man perspective. You got to be able to create and develop young men to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and be able to say what they mean and mean what they say to another individual.
Well, that's people in that's men and women, of course. That's men and
I'm
women.
not a woman, so I can't speak.
Well, we can speak because we want that from everybody. We want everybody to be able to say what you mean and how you feel.
But that's what I'm saying. So if I have to rely on saying what I feel and mean behind 140 characters, then that's not much of a man.
Nah. It's not. It's not, because you're not putting your words out there the way you got to stand behind them, and I think that's because your word is your bond. So you need to be speaking these words and using the text and the like I say the social media streams as supplement to who you are. Yeah. Right. So it should be supplemental. It should reflect. We should kind of have an idea of who you are as a person. And then those things be reflected and supplemented by your social media streams versus your social media streams being your total lifeline and being your life. But like back to what we're talking about, because it has been created and because it's been left to all of our interpretation and people are using social media in different ways. and for those that may be using it in excess and things like that, there is going to, if we're going to preserve, whatever it is, authenticity,
connections,
and relationships in that fashion, there's going to have to be a structured standard practice of maintaining those traditional ways of communication. And that's just something that we have to do. As time progresses, we're going to have to make a conscientious effort to put time into those things. Because it's going to continue to grow in terms of the social media thing. So we just have to make a place for, okay, we're going to preserve this traditional format.
I actually believe, like I said, I think there are two major things that are hurting relationships in general. And I actually want to talk about the other one in another episode, and that's with television and sitcoms. But I think that sitcoms and the current television shows that are on TV and social media are really hurting just relationships in general. And the reason I say that is because I feel like relationships are not being developed because I don't think people can communicate anymore. And I genuinely think that the cause of that is social media. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I feel like, especially with the millenniums, I think that with the millenniums, this is going to be a group of people that literally communicate based off of social media and Twitter. Now, don't get me wrong. I can sit here and I can ramble off the good things with social media. I mentioned earlier the degrees of separation, breaking news. You can get information fast and quick, and those are things that I support. I like having access to information as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. I like the ability to Instagram about free lunch podcast.
Right.
I like the ability to send Oprah a tweet with the intention of her possibly responding to that tweet. Mm-hmm. So those are three things that I actually like about social media. And I think that if we learn how to use those to benefit mankind and to push the human race forward, then I can see the need for social media. However, if we're going to continue to essentially use social media as our bridge or as our means of communication, I'm going to continue to be anti. Yeah. Because until we get back to that point to where New Edition was talking about Mr. Telephone Man and being able to pick up the telephone or being able to go over to someone's house, sit on the porch and have a conversation, I'm going to continue to be anti-social media.
Yeah. You anti FaceTime? Is FaceTime okay?
I've never used it.
Okay.
It's Skype basically though, right?
Yeah, basically Skype. That's okay, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's okay because you're still having that face to face. You're still
that's
talking.
You're
in front of those 140 characters.
Yeah, but I can't walk around with the iPad in my hand all day.
Okay. Well, you got the iPhone, but yeah. I agree with that too. And I feel like what I feel like though is this really highlights another point to where us as 80s babies can bridge that gap because we are in a situation to where we know and are familiar with both of these worlds. Mm-hmm. And so for the people that we interact with, especially when we start, with our kids and things like that, we can emphasize the importance of having more of a balance, having more of a balance in your communication, being able to communicate the traditional way as well as being able to whatever your social media communication needs are. But it's just going, like I say, I come back to it, it's just going to have to be us making that priority.
But let me ask you this right here. Let me ask you this.
Priority.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this right here. Mm-hmm. what happens when you're the outlier?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in a lot of these conversations and a lot of these talks we have, and you know, in a lot of way, your perspective may be the outlier. My perspective may be the outlier. You know, how do you continue to push forward? And I thought about this when I was flying on the plane. You know, I'm not a big materialistic person. I'm not into all the materialistic. As long as I dress nice and or the individual lady, she in my opinion, she looks nice, I'm cool with it. I'm not big on the Michael Kors. I'm not
Michael Kors.
Yeah, I'm not big on that purse. I'm not a sneakerhead. You know, but a lot of people are. So in those situations, and we kind of switching topics, but I kind of want to keep it still around social media as far as being an outlier, because I'm a traditional. I like to talk on the phone and get to know the person, or go out and get to know the person. But when you're an outlier and you're not so big into the fad or the trend, you know, how do you deal with that? How can you maneuver in that type of world?
I can only speak for how fads were addressed when we were coming up, because fads have always been some form of fad or another. And for us, Jordans have definitely, I don't even know if Jordan even be considered a fad because it's lasted so long. But, the shoes, clothes, like the cross-color clothes and things like that, were fads, and they were there. Okay. And then a lot of people wanted those things, but then you had somebody in your family that says, no, you're not going to have that. You ain't getting that. You're going to get these Lee jeans, these Levi jeans is what you're going to wear. And that's going to be the end of it. You know what I mean? So you got somebody that's in a position of kind of cultivating your growth that's telling you those things, and they're telling you no to the things, but at the same time, they're also teaching you some value into, be careful about following fads and trends, because if you make trends and fads your priority, then you'll be chasing that all the way around and then forget about the things that really matter. So it's all about having those factors in place, especially in your formative years, that are, teaching you these things, instructing you on values and stuff like that.
But if I live in a world where social media dictates communication and I'm anti-social media, how do I maneuver in that world? So I'm anti-social media. I'm not a fan of it. I don't have a Facebook or Twitter and all that. But then I have to communicate with the person of the opposite sex whom I'm interested in, and that's her means of connection and communication. Then how do you deal with that?
Well, y'all might be unequally yoked. That might not be a possibility. Y'all are on different wavelengths. So it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult to do that. She fine though. Well, you better get on your knees and pray and keep your finger crossed that one day she might be able to see it your way. One day she might be receptive to you calling her instead of sending her a text message, which would be part of it, which would be a sign that she is, somebody that you really need to invest your time in if she's willing. But at the same time, you're going to have to meet her in the middle too. You're going to have to probably get a Facebook page or something.
I gotta
and meet her in the middle.
I gotta meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
gotta be some give and some take.
Golly.
But yeah, that could, that's automatically a communication barrier when your forms of communication coming out of the gate are totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's all I really wanted to say on this particular topic. What, you didn't say much as to why you are pro.
Well, you said why I'm pro. You said why I'm pro because it's supplemental. So, by me being linked in to social media, okay, for this podcast, I am able to post the things to let people know about what's going on in the podcast. It allows you to stay connected to friends and family that might not be in your immediate area. and things like that. So, like I say, for me, it's supplement for the text, like I say, are convenient. It's a supplement to any conversation that you may have or any face-to-face interaction that you have. Sometimes you just need a quick yes or no answer, or this is where we're going to be, and be done with it. So you already said it, that it does have a place. It does have some benefit. And so, asking about why I use it and why I'm not so much of an anti-social media person would be for those things. But I understand that everything in excess can be bad for you, can be detrimental to your overall being. And when it becomes your main and your exclusive means of communication, it's gonna probably be bad for you. But
that's the new norm. That's the new norm. I actually read. I know we gotta kind of close it. Another thing that and this is for all of the podcasters that listen. I'm about to give y'all a tip, and if y'all want to be millionaires in the next 10 to 15 years, then you might want to take this heat of advice I'm about to provide. But essentially, I was listening to a radio show one day, and what actually sparked my interest and gave me the idea was so many people are using Facebook and Twitter and social media nowadays. The discussion went around the next big business and the next big boom in the next 10 or 15 years is going to actually be identity cleanup. So essentially, I think that so many millennials and people are so unaware of how the pictures and the comments that they make and how they post those to social media at a young age. And then as they get older, when they start looking for careers and they start looking for jobs, they're going to need somebody to go back and clean all that up.
Somebody got to be telling these kids that stuff right off the rip, though. Like,
No, that's easily said and done.
I think but it's all, I mean, I think that like I say, everything takes a step forward. And there were things that our parents had to do for us in terms of helping us maneuver through the time that we were growing up in that their parents didn't have to do for them. So this is just another thing that parents and guardians and brothers and mentors and all that kind of stuff are going to have to get involved in some way. I don't know what it is, but in some way that oversight has to be heightened. If the ability to communicate is heightened, then the oversight has to heighten. If it doesn't, then it's gonna run away.
Well, if you putting all the eggs in that basket, the next 10 podcasters that email freelunchpodcast@gmail.com and that are interested in starting this business with me, well, we can clean up these new millennium accounts.
I want in. I want in too.
We clean up. We can start a consulting firm where we clean up these millennium accounts when they go looking for careers and jobs.
I believe that. I want in.
We could be I'm telling you now. We can
Fortune
be
500,
Fortune 500, and we can specialize in deleting that picture of you twerking and deleting. What we gonna call ourselves, dog?
Clean you up. Clean you up with a big U.
With a big U. Clean you up. We delete the twerking pictures and you suck a dick on the vine.
Explicit label.
Explicit label. That's all I had to say. So hopefully that clears up why, I've been so passionate about this whole anti-social media and this whole need to really decrease how often we communicate on social media and really just open up the lines of communication via the phone and just getting to know people and figuring out how to be authentic and not allowing Facebook to really dictate, who you are as an individual. So that's my whole take, dog.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Like I say, anything in excess it can be bad for you. We just need I think that, especially in terms of the millennials, as you talk about, they need some guidance, and they need somebody setting those parameters for how to use social media, when to use it, when not to use it, so that when they do get to that point of going for seeking employment and things like that, that they don't have so much to clean up, especially in terms of the things that have been posted on the World Wide Web and things like that. And also just continuing to emphasize true communication, because that prevents a lot of the violence that we see and a lot of this back and forth hatred that we
Twitter
have
beef
going on. So we just need to really emphasize true communication outside of those 140 characters.
There you go. And that's all I have for the podcast today, sir. Dog,
What's up, man?
what I got on my...
Man, you got your you got your hater blockers on. But before you do that, we got to get the people the information.
I ain't finna do nothing yet. I
You-
just want to let the
you
people
ready?
know. Yeah,
Well-
I'm gonna let you get
well,
information in a minute, but
well,
I
warm
just
it up.
wanted the people. I just wanted the people to know that I did this whole podcast with the hater blockers on. My cup is empty. Shout out. Shout out to Hennessy.
Okay, then.
Hennessy and Bojangles iced tea.
Iced tea. Oh, you had that in there in yours too?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
You had some of that in
Yeah, I
yours?
put some of that in mine too.
Hey, that was on point. So let the people know how they can communicate. Hey, and this is real talk now to the next 10 investors that are ready to start clean you up. Well, we will go in and delete the twerking pictures and you sucking dick on the vine. Email us now.
Man, let's get out of this ratchet show. All right, so you can catch us every Thursday. Free Lunch Podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Also, hit us up. You got comments. You got something you want to tell us about this podcast or anyone that you've heard before, you can shout us out on Twitter, Free Lunch Pod C. And also check the blog. We update the blog on a regular basis, freelunchpodcast.blogspot.com. We
Gold all in my
appreciate your
chain.
support, and we thank you for taking your time out to listen to the Free Lunch Podcast. Dog, you ready?
Gold all in my chain.
Yeah.
Gold all in my ring. Gold all in my watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
I ain't gonna say it this time.
Hitter. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Hitter. I'm done, dog.
It's the Free Lunch Podcast. We out here.
We out here.
I'm gonna be sorry you gotta pardon me. Pardon me, I'm speaking it awkwardly. Charles Barkley, barking, they ain't biting. I'm getting that green broccoli. Properly giving props to the problem, fulfill prophecy. It gotta be better than that. It gotta be awesome. Obviously, niggas rolling the dice, and this ain't Monopoly. My purpose was to do it on purpose. Fucking apology. Go.